How's it going, everybody? Welcome into the Lambeau Leap, episode 21. This is talking about week 8 and a little week 9 preview as well. We are back night later than normal. We had some stuff going on yesterday after the game, so we didn't have a chance to record. So we thank you for being with us tonight. Back after a disappointing home loss to the Vikings. A lot of things happened. I don't know. Bobby and I talked before the show. We're not really going to dwell on talking about all sorts of things about just the game because it was kind of miserable. So, as always, I am Nate Wallen. You can find me on Twitter at Nate_Dirt19. I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Bobby Winter. You can find him on Twitter at Bobby A. Winter. How's it going, man?
Doing good in my new setup right now. As I mentioned last time, I was moving, so that was one of the reasons why we didn't record yesterday. Literally didn't have my computer set up, but I'm glad everything's set up, everything's working, and man, ready to talk some Packers football.
Hell yeah. It was disappointing. My wife had me. We were carving pumpkins kind of like during the second half, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. I had the TV on. We were like, I could watch it, but it was like, I'm just going to stab these pumpkins. And
yeah, I have a feeling like this season's going to be a lot of, I could do something else while I'm watching the Packers game too.
Yeah. I mean, I still focused in, still watching, but
yep.
Yeah. Anyways, you can find the show on Twitter at Toads Titles. All our content, articles, mock drafts, rankings, player profiles, everything we do, toadstyles.com. The player profiles are rolling out now for the draft that a lot of us are probably looking forward to already. A couple guys are releasing their fantasy rankings. If you're into fantasy football, every Thursday, I believe those come out. Coach Sheps releases his Dudes and Duds for fantasy football on Wednesdays. There's an IDP article as well. Like I said, tons of content on there. So check it out if you haven't. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe. Hit that little bell so you know when we go live as well. So you didn't miss it last night and you're hopefully listening tonight. So, and if you're listening to this on Apple, please give us a 5-star review. We would really appreciate that. And the last thing before we get going, actually I got 2 more things. We have a Gilded chat that we're in. Tons of people. I think there's 230 or 40, maybe 250 people in there now. It's free to be in. There's gambling going on in there all the time, not amongst each other, but talking about gambling. There's giveaways we're doing, fantasy football advice, start, sit, all that kind of good stuff, trade advice, anything you're looking for, it's there. So hit us up on Twitter, and we'll get you in there for free. Last thing we're doing, we're giving away a Yeti cooler at the end of November. You just got to join our Gilded chat. Be a subscriber on YouTube. There's a couple other rules. It's on our Twitter. If you have questions, you can hit us up as well. But giving away a Yeti Tundra 45, which is a nice size cooler, holds quite a few beers or soda, whatever you're into. So let's get into it. Packers fall 24-10. My biggest takeaway that I think everybody's kind of hammering on is the first half inability to do anything with the ball. I added it. I did some math. Through 8 weeks, we're getting outscored a total of 88-29 in the first half. And that's mainly because the first 2 games we scored 10 points in the first half. So that would be much worse had we not. It just seems like it's the same thing every single week. And that's like I said, I didn't want to just sit here and complain or whatever you want to say, dwell about the thing, but I did want to talk about it because it is, it's wild that you can, that's how it is. And it's the same thing week in, week out.
Yeah, it has to be mentioned. I mean, they're approaching on historically bad numbers in the first half. You had mentioned Andy Herman, our past guest and friend, put out a very interesting tweet that in 4 games, the last 4 games that the Packers have played in, they've scored 9 points in the first half of all 4 of those games put together. I mean, it seems like it's constant 3 and outs, or, I mean, if you look at the tweet itself, it's honestly kind of like, we know because we've been seeing the games.
You can read it if you want to really let them know how bad it is. I mean, if you don't want to, you don't have to.
No, so I'll just the end, right? So 25 total drives, 9 points, 18 punts, 2 interceptions, 4 field goals, 3 of which were made. So this is averaging per drive. They're averaging 5 plays per drive.
Yeah. Another thing that that's not even mentioned, like how hard that is on the defense. Like the defense is literally like playing 2 games.
That was going to be my next point. Absolutely. Because they're averaging a little over 3 yards per play, which isn't going to get it cut. I mean, so the defense, in my opinion, even though they did let up 24 points or whatever, but it's slightly above average. But the defense has been doing enough to keep them in games. I mean, you have to understand, like you were saying, with the offense constantly just doing 3 plays and out, or 4 plays or 5 plays and then out, the defense is playing so much. And then the style of defense that they play with this whole bend, no, don't break thing, it's allowing them to move down the field, right? So they're supposed to stiffen up in the red zone. But because of the type of defense that they play and how bad the offense has been, the defense has got to be gassed like every game. I could only imagine how frustrating it must be to be a defender for the Green Bay Packers right now.
Yeah. And then I don't, like I said, we could bury LaFleur every time, but like it feels like, especially the first quarter, that like it's just the same thing. It's the same thing over and over. And then Aaron Jones looks good, and then we take him out. AJ Dillon can't get 1 yard. Nope. And he was involved in the passing game the last 2 weeks a little bit more, I think. We're averaging like just over 4. Through the first 7 weeks, 7 games, we're averaging like just over 4 points for the first half.
It's embarrassing.
I mean, I don't understand like how it can be that bad.
Right. So that was another thing I was thinking of. But before I hop into that, I just want to mention AJ Dillon averaged 1.8 yards per carry last game.
That's good. That's really good.
Aaron Jones was averaging over 4. So like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? But I thought, we had said like the whole point of this offense was it didn't matter because the scheme was supposed to get the players open, right? And Jordan Love has just been consistently throwing into coverage, double coverage, triple coverage. And I get it. Like he's supposed to be like the playmaker trying to fit the ball into spaces and stuff like that, but it's not working. It's every time he's thrown into coverage. And I don't know if it's just a talent deficiency. I don't know if they're not doing the scheme. Like a lot of people online have been saying like receivers are running wrong routes, but like the whole thing together just isn't working. The scheme, the talent of the receivers, Love putting the ball where it needs to be. It's all not good. Yeah. So it's kind of hard to evaluate whether Love is going to be the guy or not, because it seems like there's a lot more problems than like if we're just Love, we could be like, oh yeah, like how many times have you heard this team is a quarterback away? You know what I mean? They're clearly not. I mean, the Packers, they're on pace right now to have a top 5 pick.
Look at. I mean, I saw the tweet somewhere, but like, there's about 5 quarterbacks that if you put them in this situation would prevail, but like the majority of quarterbacks in this situation would be struggling the same. And the contested catch rate is god awful. Yeah. It's like the guys aren't even fighting for the ball. And I know he's not, but there was another tweet about that his completion percentage would go up by like, I don't know how many points it went up from that. I'm sure if you could find it while you're sitting there looking or whatever. I don't know if you were looking or not, but it's like they're not even fighting for the ball. There's so much. The penalties yesterday was embarrassing. I mean, it was just one after another. Rasheed Walker, it looked terrible. I just looked and I was going to say it. We had 11 penalties for 99 yards yesterday.
Yep.
That's unacceptable. To me that I don't, it doesn't all fall on coaching, but part of it does.
Like you got to get your guys ready to play for sure.
And there was 2 personal fouls I thought were shitty. Rashawn Gary had one that was like, okay, sure. And then Jonathan Owens got one on Jordan Addison.
That was very ticky-tack.
That was not. Yeah. That was, I mean, the Rashawn Gary one, okay, whatever. But that one on Jonathan Owens, I was like, that's horseshit. That's not a personal foul. And even Jonathan Vilma on the call was like, yeah, I don't know about that one. I mean, I know it's a hit on a defenseless receiver, but he hit him in the shoulder. Like, I don't know what you want him to do there.
Right. It's football.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, so the whole contested catch thing, he's completed 9 of 43. They were 0 for 7 in the Minnesota Vikings game, their conversion rate is 20% when throwing into coverage. So what that says to me is, I mean, it's tough. You can't blame the receivers. You can't blame Love because I don't know. It could be bad ball placement. It could be the receivers not fighting for the ball. But the one thing that, like, as a coach, I would say is we have to do a better job of scheming these players open so that way he's not throwing so much into contested receivers.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I thought this whole thing was supposed to be about. So that's pretty frustrating. I couldn't find the stat that said how much his percentage would increase, his completion percentage, but you got to imagine, I mean, if he completed double of them, yeah, he's probably approaching 60% completion. But he also has to make better decisions. You know, it's just whatever they're doing right now isn't working. So he keeps throwing it into these contested things. Like in the fourth quarter, that last play, it was just the corner was draped all over that guy. And I get it. You know, like you're trying to make a play. It's the fourth quarter. You're trying to get the ball down the field. But it seems like every game has ended like that, with him throwing into coverage and making a corner look amazing. You know, like the corners that were playing well, like Blackman, like I'm like, are you serious? Like but they're just making all these players look so good, you know? And I feel like that's a scheme problem. I feel like it's a talent deficiency on the wide receivers. And actually that leads me to my other thing. Jaden Reed, probably the best wide receiver on this team right now. I have no idea what's going on with Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs.
No, they just, I don't know. I don't, like I said, you watch it and you watch it and you watch it and it just like baffles you, like that. It's like, what is going on? Like, and
they're not getting open. They're not. So I don't understand it, because I thought Christian Watson was really going to make a year 2 leap. Now I know he was injured for the first couple of games and he's coming back off of that and stuff. But I mean, if you remember what it was like last year, now again, this was with Rodgers, but like the offense completely transformed when Christian Watson like arrived, basically. You know what I mean? Like he was a new dimension to that offense. And that's when they really started to like put things together and win games. And they're not winning games because of him. I mean, he had 4 catches on 9 targets. Romeo Doubs, it was a similar stat line. Jaden Reed is the only one who's like consistently getting open, making big plays. And honestly, the second best wide receiver on our team is probably Dontavian Wicks. At least that dude, he's blocking, he's trying really hard. And it looks like Watson is like giving up on plays where he doesn't think like he has a shot. There was also like that play in the end zone. He didn't even put 2 hands up to try to catch the ball. Like I was like, what are you doing, man? You know, he's obviously very physically talented, you know, and we always knew that like he was going to be like, when they drafted him, they knew that he was going to need some time to put it together, being a Division II prospect and everything. But I don't know, I guess they saw enough from him in his rookie year where they're like, oh no, we're going to be good with him being the alpha. And he's not been very alpha this year. You hate to just be like, oh, well, this is the reason. Oh, this is the reason. No, it's pretty much every aspect of the offense. Like everything that could be going wrong kind of is. Aaron Jones was supposed to be like the steadying force for this offense. Well, he's been injured, you know, and when he is playing, they're not giving him the ball. And, you know, that's been his entire career, but what are we going to do about it now?
Good news. I was looking for that or two, but we talked about the penalties. Green Bay Packers are the number 1 penalized team in the NFL, averaging 7.4 penalties a game, by far the highest average in the dipshit era. And they're top 5. I won't say the F word on here, so you know that works. Top 5 for offensive holding, false start and delay of game, and top 10 for total pre-snap and unnecessary roughness infractions. So good job, LaFleur. Proud of you for that one.
Yeah. Now, obviously, that's not great. And I mean, I don't know what you tell your players other than like, hey, stop committing penalties. You know what I mean? Like clearly they all watch the tape and they're seeing what they're doing wrong and stuff, but you could blame it on inexperience. You could blame it on it's a young team. It's the youngest offense in the league. But I mean, penalties is fundamentals, man. Like they know the rules of the game. You just need to play within the confines of the rules. So that's incredibly frustrating to hear. So another thing I had done earlier in the week, I did a little bit of research, and I just feel like week over week, we've been talking about the offense, right? Really dating back to last year. We were saying like, oh, it's a young offense and blah, blah, blah. So I looked into the draft capital that the Packers have spent on offense and defense. So obviously they play in different formations. So what I did was I took the top 12 players on offense and the top 12 players on defense. Because if they were in 12 personnel or 21 personnel, I wanted to make sure that we accommodated for that. And same thing on defense if they're playing a nickel or base or dime. So these are all, by snap count, like the players that they would consider starters. All right. So you got Jordan Love with pick 26. He was worth, and I used the Jimmy Johnson draft chart. Now I know there's a number of different draft charts out there, but the Jimmy Johnson one is pretty easy to understand, and it's black and white, and every draft pick has a point value. So Jordan Love, pick 26, 700. Aaron Jones, 182, 19.6. AJ Dillon, pick 62, 284. Christian Watson, pick 34, 560. Romeo Dobbs, 132, 40 points. Jaden Reed, 50, 400 points. Luke Musgrave, 42, 480 points. Rasheed Walker, pick 249, 0.75 points. Zach Tom, 140, 36 points. Elton Jenkins, pick 44, 460 points. John Runyon, 192, 15.6 points. Josh Myers, 62, 284 points. So I went through them all one by one to illustrate the difference, because that totals a point value of 3,279.95. The defense total is 6,380.4. It's literally almost double. Good. So, yeah, I mean, the defense, and like we've been saying all this year, like the defense has been doing enough to keep this offense in the game. The offense just isn't producing. And this is what happens when you invest all of your premium draft capital into one side of the ball. The other side is going to start looking anemic. And not saying that they don't have premium draft capital on the offense. They clearly do. They spent a first-round pick on their quarterback. Christian Watson was essentially a first-round pick. He was the third pick in the second round. But the rest of it is, it's low. I mean, you have Jaden Reed, who again, he's a rookie. He was also a second wide receiver. But the defense is first round pick after first round pick after first round pick after first round pick. They have, of the 12 players, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the 12 players were first round picks.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean,
and it's like, well, first round picks aren't everything. Yeah. But if you look according to this chart, they have a point value, and they assess like what type of player, how much value that player is going to bring being drafted at that position in the draft. Most of the resources have went to the defense. And I have to admit, the defense is not the reason why this team is playing so poorly, And it's so weird, because it was always like, oh, the Packers have always had a great offense. For 30 years, the Packers offense was never the problem. You know what I mean? But it is now. And they really need to like look in the mirror. And, I mean, we're approaching, like I said, we could be a top 5 pick. I mean, there's a chance we could have the first overall pick, because I'm looking at the schedule right now, and I don't know where you can say, oh yeah, we're definitely going to win this game. If they keep playing like they're playing now.
We have a better chance now this weekend against the Rams, because Stafford is probably out. But still, I don't even know who the hell their backup is. It used to be John Wolford. I don't think it's him anymore. I don't know if Stetson Bennett's the guy. That's about the only saving grace with that. But I don't know, as far as if it'll still be teabag when we play the Bears, probably not. The problem is we're not forcing any turnovers, scoring points on defense, and we're sure as hell aren't going to score on offense. So I don't know, I don't know where the points are going to come from.
Right. And that was another thing too. You had mentioned with the defense not scoring points. The Packers have been blitzing more than they have typically in the past, and their production off the blitz is embarrassing. Like, it's really bad.
Just stop.
I don't know, because they're just not getting the same pressure as they did last year, and they're blitzing way more.
Yeah. I don't know. there's like I said, there's just so many things that have gone wrong that go wrong, and it feels like it's the same every single week's the same. And the defense they like I said they toughen up in the red zone. They're still I think they're one of the worst teams on fourth down, which is really awesome. And it just feels like the same thing, and I don't know where we go from here. Like you said, I mean, I don't know if we win another game though. I really don't.
I'm looking at the schedule now,
and it clearly things aren't changing, from week to week. So,
yeah. So depending on what happens with the Rams next week, like you said, with Stafford being out, it could be a winnable game. But I mean, you got Pittsburgh. Nope. The Chargers.
Mitch Trubisky.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Depends on how bad Pickett's rib injury is, but
yeah, that's true. I don't know, but even Pickett hasn't played particularly well.
No, their defense.
I think really we're at an extreme coaching disadvantage, and their defense is going to smother.
We'll never beat a team that has a good coach. That's why we probably won't beat the Rams because McVay's too good of a coach. Tomlin's way too good of a coach.
Well, that's weird though, because over the years in the LaFleur era, we have owned the Rams.
Yeah,
but we also had Aaron Rodgers. So the Chargers, no way. Detroit, nope. Kansas City, definitely not. I think the only 3 or 4 games that we could look at is like the New York Giants, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers,
maybe
Carolina, and the Bears again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I don't feel confident about any 4 of those games right now.
No.
Like any fan who says that they do, like they shouldn't, If
they do, they're a liar.
Right. You scored 10 points at home against a division rival with a defense that, let's be real,
their defense sucks. The Vikings defense, I mean, it has played a lot better as of late. I'll give them that. They just blitz a shit ton. Harrison Smith is always good, and Danielle Hunter is really good.
Yes.
But their defense has played a ton better since, I don't remember when they played the Chargers. They gave up like 440 some yards of passing in that game. And then ever since then, they have been a lot better, but they're not that good of a defense.
They've been playing very unconventional, blitzing a ton. They've been doing a lot of like zero blitzes. They've been doing a lot of like, they lead the league in dropping 8, and they also lead the league in blitzing. So like, they're just playing like very unconventional, and it's working for them.
Yeah.
Now it is.
And their offense looks fine without Justin Jefferson. Who would have thought? Kirk Cousins is out for the season. I feel bad. I don't like that.
Me
sucks.
too.
You know what I mean? Like I like Kirk.
To see it.
Good dude. You hate to see that happen. So hopefully T's and P's to him. Hopefully he'll be okay. It is exciting. Rashawn Gary got a contract. 4 years, $107 million, something like that.
4 years, 96, I believe.
Close enough.
So, something like that. It was. I remember, or maybe it was 98. But I'm glad that happened. Gary's obviously a beast. He's still working his way back from the injury or whatever, and he was on a snap count for, the better part of the season so far. So I have no worries about him. I think he's terrific, and I was really hoping that they were going to extend him, and that's awesome. So that if there's any good news for the Packers' future is that Rashawn Gary is going to continue to be a part of the team. So that's awesome. But my biggest fear actually for the future is whether or not we're going to know what we have in Jordan Love.
I don't think we do. And we can't. And I don't, and it's, whether it's the talent deficiency, because then like you said earlier, I don't know if I said that, but like they don't even look like they should be on the same field. Like as some of these teams, like you watch and you're just like, what the hell are we doing? Right. There's like these miscommunications on the offensive line where you watch the view from like back behind and it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And it's funny because nothing has changed coaching wise from last year to this year. OC is still the same. LaFleur, Barry, those guys, they're all the same people, but it's like they just forgot what the hell they were doing. And
one coaching aspect changed. Aaron Rodgers isn't there.
Yeah, well, and my buddy Abe and I say that, like that we thought that they would get exposed from that. And I think that's too with talking about draft capital, like he was able to cover those things up. And people thought how great Goody and LaFleur and oh yeah, they're the best. It's like, well, just wait, you know. And I've been saying it. I've been a known LaFleur hater since day one. I don't know how many there were with me, but you know, and I'll stand on that hill. I don't know who could really disagree at this point. Like I said, he just looks like they're never prepared for a game.
I agree. I mean, there was times in 2021 where you like, especially like, all right, that playoff game against the Rams, they had an excellent plan for that game. Excellent. Like they beat the crap out of the Rams. Like, and I was like, man, that was like a Matt LaFleur staple game. You know what I mean? Like that was a good win. And like, it just seems like ever since last year, I don't know what's different. But it's just not working anymore. And sometimes these things happen, you know. It happened with Big Mike, you know. The offense got stagnant. He wasn't changing with the times and they needed to shake things up to make a change or whatever. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he gives up play calling if they continue to lose like this. Just try to shake things up. I mean, he should.
That change.
That's what I'm saying. Like a Big Mike did it too. You know, he gave it up for a little while and then took it back. And but with the whole not knowing about Love thing, it's like the offensive line isn't performing as well. The wide receivers are performing below expected. So like we could get to the end of the year and we could just be like, man, I think it's just a bad team. And then you're not really sure what you have in Jordan Love. And then you're like, okay, well, when are we picking? Right. So like, obviously now we have to start talking about it because with how many losses we have right now, there is the possibility that this team could not win another game or they win one more game. And all of a sudden now we're in Drake May, Caleb Williams territory.
I don't want Caleb Williams.
All right.
So I don't want anything to do with that guy.
So if Drake May falls to pick number 2 and we're picking second, do we take him?
I don't know. I guess
it's kind of crazy, right? Because like, how often do the Packers ever pick in the top 5? Like in the last 30 years, I don't think they ever have. No. You know, so like this is your one opportunity that you can get somebody who could be a blue chip, you know, quarterback prospect, you know, but then you also have the other edge of the sword where it's like, okay, well, if the team isn't good enough to support this quarterback, like, are you just going to destroy him like a lot of other teams have done to first round quarterbacks? Yeah. You know, I think the best case scenario for the Packers is they win enough games that they miss out on Drake May or Caleb Williams, and maybe they get Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yep. Or a good tackle.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, they definitely. I mean, they need a lot. Let's be real. But I mean, if you can get a blue chip player, like every draft, there's maybe 5, 6, sometimes even less. If you can get yourself one of those, I mean, look at the Bengals. You know, they got 2 blue chip prospects in a row, right? They got Joe Burrow, they got Chase, and it completely transformed their team. Yeah. A blue chip talent, something like Devontae Adams did for us for years. You know, he wasn't coming out of college, but he evolved into the best wide receiver in the league, and the offense looks completely different without him on the team now. Yeah. You know, it's a talent deficiency. There's a void on this offense that was just never filled after he left. Nope. And I know we have to be more patient with the quarterback, and sometimes it takes time for them to develop. And even though he's been in the league for 3 years, we still got to be patient with him. Who knows? 2 months from now, we could be like, oh man, remember that stretch where he was really bad? You know, but that's why we got to watch all 17 that start fantasizing about what offensive prospects that they could potentially get their hands on if Goody will actually select a wide receiver in the first round.
No chance. It'll be the same, you know, like last year, pick 13 or whatever. I wanted Jackson Smith and Jigba so damn bad.
So did I.
You know, sitting there like, it's cool, but it won't happen. I know that, you know, and Luke Van Ness comes in, great, cool, whatever, don't care. You know, and I think
who's been underwhelming since week 1.
he made a couple plays, whatever, here and there, you know. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying he was going to be a game wrecker, Max Crosby week, you know, year one. You know, I'm not saying it was wasted or anything like that. It was the same as, you know, was it 2 years ago? I'm going to draw a blank now on the receiver I wanted that just sat there. And it's the same thing, you know, like I talk how great it'd be. Oh, this guy, that guy, you know, and it's like, but I know to myself, I know damn well that we're not going to draft a wide receiver in the first round. So, you know, it really doesn't matter. But
could you imagine picking third and Drake May and Caleb Williams are off the table and Marvin Harrison is staring us right in the face and he doesn't pick him?
He'd take Kool-Aid McKinstry and get us another defensive back.
I would flip my table over.
I'd probably throw my phone through the TV.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my God. I don't think anything in this world could make me madder than him passing on Marvin Harrison Jr. if we're in position to take him. But alas, we might not even be in the realm to fucking draft him. So,
yeah. I don't know. And before I forget, if you'd like to help support, check out the Patreon. Those that are the Patreon members, we do appreciate you guys a ton. We're getting ready to do the waiver wire episode for tonight that you guys get in your email. So there's 6 different tiers right now. It's cheap as $1.50 a month. So if you would like to support the show and help us out, patreon.com/toilets to titles. We would really appreciate that. And the last thing I will say, if you like other types of fantasy sports, we do a show on Saturdays for Rival Fantasy called Friendly Fire. They have bingo cards. There's season-long leagues. You can actually bet on season-long. You can bet against other teams now in your season-long leagues. They have some other games they play that are a lot of fun, and so we have that. Join rival.com/title tribe. They'll match your deposit up to $200. So check that out. We would appreciate the help. And it's a lot of fun. So check the show out on Saturdays too. So I had to say that before we get out of here because I didn't want to forget. But you got anything else before we get out of here? I guess
no.
We don't talk much about the Rams game. Like I said,
yeah.
If Stafford doesn't play, we have a better shot.
Sure.
You know, but they've been running the ball well, which won't be good for us.
Yeah.
You know, and their defense, Aaron Donald's going to eat up that offensive line, you know, and they'll just have one guy blocking him because that doesn't make sense to have more than one guy block him. So,
dude, remember in that playoff game, Elton Jenkins locked him up?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel confident about him doing that again?
No. Something happened. He was like my favorite player, and I don't know what has gone on.
So I think the offensive line thing, it's like a lot of that has to do with who's playing next to you. And think about who used to play next to him.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's a little
that left-hand side was like probably the most solid left-hand side in football.
Yeah.
With Bakhtiari, with who was the center that went to the Chargers? Corey Linsley.
Yeah.
You know, and not to say he's not a great player, but also like he's got like a first-time starter on his left side and the world's worst center on the right, onto his right. Did you see that whiff? Oh my God. Yeah. On that 3rd and 1, dude, AJ Dillon got swallowed up because he completely whiffed the block. It was bad. It looked like he literally just like fell forward on purpose.
It's like, I don't care.
Yeah, that was really bad.
It's just shit. It sucks. So
yeah.
Oh well. Well, onward and upward. Got another home game this week. Got the Rams coming to town. So, you know, we'll be back next Sunday. We'll see what happens. You know, I always am optimistic. You got to be a little bit, you know, but
sure. But I'm also getting to the territory where I'm like, I don't think I'm going to get upset if they keep losing. You know what I mean?
And that's what my wife said. She's like, "Why do you care? You know they're not good." I'm like, it's just frustrating to watch dumb mistakes over and over and over again.
Yeah, the problem with this team is they're shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, it's the same thing, and it's like I'd be nice if you get if a receiver or a tight end would make a play, help the guy out a little bit. You know, let's get something rolling. And I'm not blaming it on them. I'm blaming it on everybody. I'm ready for football Rich to take over. So.
See, that would actually be pretty cool.
That's who he needs to be.
Dude, he took the Raiders to the playoffs.
Yeah, I'd say if Rich Bisaccia can get the goddamn Raiders to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll leave you at that. That's and Biff Porgy. That's my guy.
And that was a Raiders team without Devontae Adams.
Who had 0 catches in the first half, by the way.
Yeah.
Tonight. No, Biff Porgy, the guy I sent you the TikTok of. That's how I want on the sidelines.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
All right. Well, once again, thanks for tuning in. You can find the show on Twitter, Total Styles. You can find me at Nate_Dirt19. You can find Bobby at Bobby A Winner. Check us out. Check TotalStyles.com. And yeah, we'll see y'all next week. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great night.